Welcome to the Bible Nest. Today we're going to be looking at a parable. This requires me to put on my literary lenses because I want to understand the type of writing that I'm going to be reading. A parable. A parable is a simple story, but it's told to teach us something very important, something that's maybe not very easy to always understand. When we read a parable, we can understand what we think the meaning is. But then as we learn more and we read the parable again, we get a new meaning from it. And so with parables, we read them over and over throughout our whole lives, and we're always learning something new from the parable. That feels like a gift from Jesus. He didn't just tell us everything we needed to know. He wanted us to really think and learn for ourselves. So the parable that we're looking at today is only 2 verses long. It's in the book of Matthew and the book of Mark. I'm going to read it from the book of Mark, chapter 4, verses 30 through 32, the first being just an introduction. This is Jesus talking. What shall we say the kingdom of God is like, or what parable shall we use to describe it? It is like a mustard seed, which is the smallest of all seeds on earth. Yet when planted, it grows and becomes the largest of all garden plants, with such big branches that the birds can perch in its shade. Now, the mustard seed is not the smallest seed in the world. And the mustard plant is not the largest garden plant in the world. But that doesn't mean that Jesus is lying, and it doesn't mean that the Bible isn't true. But remember that the Bible isn't a science book. Jesus is using something called hyperbole. Let me put my literary lenses back on, because hyperbole is something that we should understand. It's when something is exaggerated so that it can send a message. I'm so hungry I could eat a mountain of spaghetti. I can't really eat a mountain of spaghetti, but it sends you the message that I'm very hungry. Now, Jesus is not giving us a science lesson about seeds and plants. Remember, this is a parable that is meant to teach us a lesson. So, he wants us to know that the kingdom of God is very small and that it will grow very big. So now I'm going to put on my historical lenses because I want to find out how this was understood for the people that it was written for. Now, in Bible times, farmers liked to keep their gardens very orderly and neat in clean rows, just like I like to see gardens today. But mustard was one of those plants that they did not want in their gardens. No one was planting mustard on purpose. It was wild. It was like a weed, and it grew quickly. It was hard to control. It was messy. They didn't want mustard in their gardens. And so when Jesus is saying that the kingdom of God is like a mustard seed, he's saying that the kingdom of God spreads fast and you can't control it, and it shows up in unexpected places. It's messy. And I wonder what those people, especially the farmers, were thinking when they were listening to Jesus. What would they have thought to have the kingdom of God told to be like a mustard plant? Now, I'm going to put on my cultural lenses to understand this next part, because it said that birds come and can perch in its shade. Now that might sound poetic, but it's also a clue, because back in the Old Testament, we see a few times birds being used to describe not birds that fly in the air, tweet, 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 but people of different nations. And so in like poetry, instead of saying people from other nations, people from other countries, outsiders, they would talk about birds. In Ezekiel, we see the Lord talking about people of all different kinds being welcomed by saying that many birds are welcome. And in Daniel 4, it talks about a mighty tree with birds nesting in it, which meant not really birds nesting in a tree, but people from different countries around the world. And this parable that Jesus tells here is similar to that, except instead of using this big, mighty, strong tree that people admired, being the place where the people would come, Jesus is using that pesky old mustard plant that nobody wanted. And that would have been really surprising to the people of the time. Because Jesus is saying that God's kingdom will grow and spread, and that it will welcome all kinds of people, even the kinds of people that they wouldn't have expected. And it's not happening in big, powerful, flashy kinds of ways. It's starting really small, like a mustard seed. Now that we understand more about what it meant for the original audience, we get to put on our devotional lenses. We get to look at what it means to us today. Now look how small a mustard seed is. We may think that we are small, or the things that we do to serve God and his kingdom are small, but God takes small things and makes them big. God's kingdom doesn't always look impressive at first, but it grows quietly, powerfully, full of life, just like that mustard seed becoming a wild tree full of birds. Each one of our prayers, our acts of kindness, the songs that we sing in worship, the ways that we forgive others, these are all small things that grow into God's big kingdom. God is giving us a new way to think about his greatness and grace. Now, I wonder why Jesus spoke in parables. I wonder why he didn't just tell everyone the answers. I wonder why Jesus told this parable about a mustard seed. Wonder with me again next time at the Bible Nest. Thanks for joining me.